How early was it that you knew that you were gifted?
When I think of gifted, I don't only think of like having the ability to like sing, right? Or having the ability to act, but like realizing that you have the ability to shift a room or an atmosphere.
What part did church play in nurturing your creativity?
That was my first platform of recognizing my gifts and sharpening those skills to like prepare me for the world. She saw something in me before I saw it in myself.
In what ways do you feel like faith has informed the way that you move in the world?
Me and the music that I'm writing or that I'm preparing to release, like it's reflecting my life, my experiences, and that's God. And that's being a woman of faith. That's being an encourager, somebody who likes to inspire. So my music is uplifting, it's motivational.
But you are a singer that I have on the show, so it's only right when you have a singer that you got to hear some vocals, right? And something to inspire us to keep going on this creative journey.
All right, here it is. One of my favorite songs.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hitting Your Mark, a show where I get to sit down with creative people who I believe are definitely hitting their mark. Now, my next guest, she is an actress, she is a singer, she is an educator, but above all of that, she is a woman of faith. My next guest is the Jen Rockett. How's it going, Jen?
Everything is well. All is well.
All is well. To God be the glory. Huh?
To God be the glory.
I said it sounds like you was about to say next.
I know, very churchy, but no, all is well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for being on the platform with me. I want to focus on the topic of being set apart. And I have really only met you once. We've only met once, but I've seen you perform twice, actually.
Okay.
And I can tell just by observing you perform and watch you perform, I can tell that you are set apart. And we'll talk about 3 different ways that you can be set apart in life.
Okay.
But the first way, I think, is of being gifted, right? Like you are set apart by the way that you are gifted. We talked before, right? Like you can sing, you can act, we'll talk about that too. You're a musician, like you play the keys and the guitar, right?
I do a little something.
Come on,
I dibble dabble.
You do a little something. So how early was it that you knew that you were gifted?
Ooh. So I always known I've had certain abilities because of certain opportunities that would present themselves. But when I think of gifted, I don't only think of like having the ability to like sing, right? Or having the ability to act, but like realizing that you have the ability to shift a room or an atmosphere. I want to say that wasn't until I was an adult, but I knew at a very young age, like, singing at school, at a play, in first grade, like getting the solo, right? Or being at church too. I knew I had these abilities because people would pour into me or give me the opportunities to sharpen those skills.
Come on now.
But when you say gifted, I think of like the ability to own your gift and then to be able to, like I said, kind of like shift that atmosphere. So that wasn't until I was an adult where I'm like, okay, I see what's happening here.
I love it. Okay, so I love it. You say being able to own a gift and shift the atmosphere.
Yes.
I feel like I've definitely seen that too. Yeah, in the early age of you, as PKs, like, we did everything. So like we got up and spoke and we praise dance,
Absolutely.
right? We did those things. And to see people like actually get inspired and like and moved by the things that you do.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, I think I'm kind of onto something.
Right.
You talked about being in church. I grew up in church. You grew up in church too, yeah?
Absolutely. Born on the pew. No.
Born on the pew. I love it. What part did church play in nurturing your creativity?
Oh, wow. Really, church was my first platform. So like, I think about the song that I learned when I was like 5 or 6, right? I'm going to move on up the mountain. Like, I was about to sing for a little bit, but I was like,
Sing a little bit. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Like the very first song that I learned, or even like acting in church plays, right? Like that also was a platform for me. Like I did praise dancing. So I want to say church like built my character as well. Like, it'll make or break you. But you have those people like, that's all right. Like you could go on.
Right.
So, it was a moment of encouragement. But it never, anything that I've ever done, I want to say I felt like my first start was in church. Like anything creatively that I've done outside of church, I've done it all in church.
Come on.
So that was my first platform of recognizing my gifts and sharpening those skills to like prepare me for the world.
Come on now. I
Yeah.
love it. And I've said the same thing to other people too. I feel like, yeah, church is essentially like the training wheels
Yes.
in a sense for the things that you're going to do, right?
Absolutely.
Like you talked about praise dancing. I was praise dancing
Yes.
and doing like speeches, like the Easter speeches,
Yes.
right? And especially being PKs, we didn't get the Easter speech that was like 2 or 3 lines. Like
No.
we had whole monologues that
Right.
we was doing for
Right,
those.
right.
And then being in church plays and the skits and whatnot, right? Like me being an actor and doing plays and stuff like that, I used to always say like, oh man, I'm not as experienced because I haven't done too much as you guys. But really, I've been doing it in church. You know, like
absolutely.
in church is the real deal in a sense. So yeah, so you feel like in the same way of church was a way to not only nurture one gift of you acting, but it nurtured the gift of you singing and you playing.
Yes.
So did you see it using all of those gifts at that time?
I did. So at the time, I mean, singing has always been like my first passion, my first love. This is like my main gift, right? My main thing.
Gotcha.
But like, I never thought that I was going to be praise dancing. You know what I mean? Like the opportunity came and it was like, okay, I think I can do this. But I've never said no to those things either.
Yeah.
Right? Or like, leading worship at a young age, right? Also taught me because I'm also an educator.
Okay.
So like being in spaces where I'm young, but I'm taking these leadership roles, I'm like, I learned this from church. So yeah, open up the door for other areas, not just for one thing. So, and I didn't see that then, but when you look back, hindsight, the vision is so clear. Like, wow, it started when I was in church as a kid.
Come on now. Retrospect is or was it hindsight is 2020?
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Hindsight is 2020.
For sure.
You said that you have multiple gifts, right? Being like multi-talented in church, being able to sing, being able to speak in front of people, being able to play. That can be intimidating for some people, right? Some people who might not be able to do you're able to do three things, but they might not be able to be good at one, right?
Right.
Have you ever felt in a sense of like you had to play small or like dim your light around certain people so you wouldn't kind of intimidate them or push them away?
Absolutely. And I'm thinking about this poem, Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's a line in there that says like, there's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you, right? And then there's another part in there that says that like, basically as you are letting your light shine, like you give other people the liberty to do the same.
Come on.
And again, it wasn't until I was older that I took that last portion, because there were times where I felt like I could see a vision or I could help make something better, but also like, well, let me not, because I don't want to step on your toes, or this is your thing, or I see how this can be better here, but, or in a sense, humbly speaking, like I could help you do that a lot better, right? But like I didn't want to step on anybody's toes because I'm also, I believe that everybody has a gift, right? So it doesn't have to be in the same way that I'm doing it, but, sometimes even like sitting down, being quiet, not giving your opinion, that to me, that can be shrinking yourself in a sense.
Yeah.
If you know how to do it in the right manner. And I've always said that I believe in doing things, with humility. And I believe I do everything with humility, but also speaking up does not mean that you're not humble, right? Because there's a way to deliver those things. So to answer your question, yes, I have definitely been in spaces where I feel like I've made myself smaller.
Gotcha.
Just so the next person won't feel like I'm trying to make them small.
Come on. So many beautiful things that you said within that. But now with you being a grown adult and fully living in your purpose and stuff, are you now kind of like, I'm letting my light shine? Do you still have days of where you feel like you play small, or are you full on kind of living in your thing, you think?
Very seldom, like it's very rare. But now as an adult, I believe that I'm more so letting my light shine because I'm taking that end part of the poem. Like when I do that, then I give other people the liberty
to do the same.
Yes, permission to do the same. And if they feel like that's not the case, if they still feel insecure because I'm letting my light shine, then that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that's
right?
your problem. You
that's
gotta take
a you
that up
problem.
with God.
And because I know I'm not doing it in a manner where I'm performing in arrogance, like I'm okay with that. So yes, at this age, at this big age, I'm letting my light shine.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking up and I'm saying things, and I know that I'm doing it with the right intention, with the right mindset, and it's in my heart to mean well. So yes, I'm gonna let it shine. Let my little light shine.
Let your little light shine, Jen. We need that light. We need that light.
Thank you.
And man, I love that poem too. I love that poem.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful part in there. Like, you letting your light shine allows others to do the same.
Absolutely.
So I think that's always a motivation of mine too, right? Anything that I do is to not do it small, but to do it big. Because when I do it big, somebody else is gonna see, like, hey, I think I could do that too.
Absolutely.
But in speaking of that same sense, were there ever some people, maybe in the music world or in the creative world, that were letting their light shine, and you saw that and was like, hey, I could do that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Personally, like people who I know, but also people who I watch from afar. Like I think about Kier Shear, right? I love Kiki, right?
Yeah.
She's just herself. She's herself. She's a church girl, right?
Come on now.
But she's always like pushed the envelope or sharpened her skills in ways that, it didn't look like it did when she was 15, and it shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching her, becoming herself. And that's inspiring me to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, how can I better myself? Or, what can I do to make sure that I'm fully living in purpose with intention and not being afraid to do that in any space?
Come on now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I love that. So,
I know, I get what you're saying. You're fine.
You know what I'm saying? Well, quick segue. That's like my sister. My sister hate when I say bro. Like when I say bro, but bro is just like a term.
No, absolutely. Maybe because I'm a teacher, it's
you
a little
get it.
Yeah,
come on now, you get it, Jen.
But I will correct them if there's. I'm like, I get it, but I'm your teacher. You know what I mean?
So it's like, you can't call your teacher, bro.
No, but when they're talking, they're like, come on, bro. Like, wait a minute, I get it. I know you're not calling me bro.
Yeah.
But I gotta reel you back in. This is different culture. We're not at home.
Yeah, right. Pipe down a little bit.
Right.
So that's great. I feel like you're set apart in the sense that you are gifted, which you've talked about. But I also think about in your level of preparation. The second time that I saw you perform was in Chef Beans' play, Transparency.
Ooh, shout out to Chef Beans.
Yeah, shout out Chef Beans. It was a great production, great overall production.
Yeah,
but I'm a fellow actor, so when I see other actors doing the thing, we don't need all that. But I can tell when like there's somebody who's lifting up, lifting up off the page, lifting up off the stage a little bit, and I feel like you are definitely one of those people. And I talked to Beans about it. I'm like, yo, like, did Jen write this thing? Cause like it's too good how she's performing it, and and you singing in it. Like, it was just like, oh my gosh. But watching that, I saw like a prepared performance, and in me as a guy of preparation, I love that. I love when I see another actor who I feel like has really prepared what it is that they're doing.
Absolutely.
So what went into that whole process of you preparing for that?
Yes. So when you saw the play, I want to say that was my 5th time performing that monologue, right?
Wow.
And so by now, I'm comfortable with it. I'm playing around with it a little bit more. So preparation for that role. Now again, and you mentioned this, me and Beans had a conversation.
Yeah.
So he wrote that for me. I feel like this is my role, right? I mean, and don't get me wrong, anybody can act that out. But for me, it was personal. It was personal, and I felt it.
To you.
Yes, and that's why I bodied it the way I did, because I'm like, I could have this conversation a million times because this is what I'm living. And so I'm trying to get other people to understand. And I love that he's adding this piece of like, and I'm not giving it away, but just being transparent, right? So for me, of course, I'm going over the lines. I'm always, reciting it to myself, but also looking at it to say like, what else can I add here to make sure that somebody understands what I'm trying to convey, my negotiables and my non-negotiables. I'll say that because that's what my monologue is about.
Right.
But, so preparation is really like, first of all, understanding, like, do you know your own negotiables and non-negotiables, right? And really introspective, like, are you being transparent when you show up to these different settings in these different places? So, playing around with it and just being authentic with it as well, because I can, since is written for me. Like, how else can I put me in here?
Yeah, right. No, I love that. One is learn the lines, like dial in on what the material is.
For sure.
but then just be authentically you and bring your instincts to it.
Yes,
And
yes,
in that
yes.
way, I think you're definitely able to shine through.
Absolutely.
Another part that you played in that, again, like you were singing in it, right? And like
I was.
and you said singing is kind of like your main thing. Talk about that vocal instrument, on what it takes to kind of prepare it and to nurture it over time, and to take care of that instrument.
Wow. Wow. It's funny that you said to take care of it, because there were times where, I kind of suffered from not being able to perform at my best because I wasn't taking care of my instrument. Meaning, I wasn't doing the right things to prepare. So it's like I had vocal damage at one point.
Wow.
So even having those type of experiences kind of taught me, okay, how do I, better take care of this instrument, this gift, so I can, perform at my best level or be my best self. So, of course, like there's a typical thing as anybody would with their craft. Like there's a certain diet that I may, absolutely.
Okay.
So
All right, we got some diets happening.
yeah, no, for real.
Let's
Like,
hear about it.
right. So I mean, and literally, for me, it makes a difference. To each his own, because some people can get up there and be like, "Hey, I had dairy and stuff today," but that's for me. I can't. Like, I know I need to stay hydrated.
Okay.
And also the vocal warm-ups, like me being an educator, like I'm using my voice all day long. So I have to be able to know how to, speak at a certain levels or manipulate my voice where I'm not straining.
Right.
And it's funny because, I teach middle school kids. So when I'm in person, sometimes you got to be like, hey, you know what I mean?
You gotta
yes,
put your chest out and,
for
talk
real.
loud a little bit, to the little jokers.
Yes, but also be mindful, like, I don't want to overuse my voice. Or so like watching my levels as I'm speaking. And like I'm just making sure I'm not overusing it.
Yeah.
And then just making sure I'm doing the right thing to replenish. So getting enough rest, drinking water, like all those things.
Yeah, the basic things, right?
The basic
getting
things.
Rest,
but the
water.
basic things are like the most important. We say it's basic, but I'm like, this is vital.
Man, and people would be looking over it, right? And not doing it. And
I did, and I suffered from it. So now that like I went through that, I'm like, oh no. Like, and I know this is probably funny, but I love roller coasters. Love it. Love going to theme parks.
I know where this is going.
My mom would always remind me, like, hey, you got to sing.
You got to sing in them on that
church.
I
had to like train myself to be like, like I'm not really screaming, but
you're on a roller coaster, like
literally. Story of my life.
What is wrong with her right now?
Yes.
Guys, I'm on vocal rest right now.
Yeah, no, for real. Like, so just in every area of my life, making sure like, hey, I'm looking out for this instrument because this is my main,
That's your main thing, and that's your main gifting, and that's your beautiful thing. But you got to take care of it and nurture it,
Absolutely.
and show God that you actually appreciate this.
Yes, I'm gonna be a good steward over. Yes, what you've given me, God.
Being
Absolutely.
a good steward over it. You talked about diet. What diet things do you kind of like take out to help out with your voice too?
For sure. Like dairy. To be honest, if I'm going to sing, ideally, because I'm a flexitarian. Y'all can look that up later, okay?
A flexitarian.
We'll dive into that later, okay?
All right.
So
I might put the definition on the screen or something. What that means?
So and I don't even know. Like I got that from another friend. I hope that's a legit thing. But there's like vegetarians, there's vegans. You can be a pescatarian.
There's pescatarian,
and then there's a flexitarian.
There's a flexitarian
where you flex a little bit. So I might be vegetarian for this amount of time, and then tomorrow I might have some chicken. I might do a little steak. Okay.
A flexitarian.
So, if I'm going out to eat, you need to ask me what week am I on, because I might be flexing that.
Because I might be flexing. I might get a little prime rib. I might get a little,
But really, it's all those things like together. So vegetarian, pesca, But when I'm singing, ideally, like, to be honest, like, for church people, like Daniel's fast would be the perfect type of like thing to do before I'm singing. Like it's not too much like acid on my throat or like again, dairy can clog you up. So and I don't like milk anyway. But even things like I love cheese, right? But it's not always good for me to eat cheese before I sing. Now, do I? That's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
we won't dive into that.
We won't talk about that.
No,
but on a good day,
yeah, we could actually just move to the next.
Yeah. All right, I got you. We'll move on to the next topic. But yeah, I think it is those when you have those bad days, right? Of when you lose your voice or like when your voice gets scratchy, you're like, wait, hold on, I need to do some stuff to take care of this.
Absolutely.
And I've definitely learned that in theater, right? Of course, like in theater, we're taught to project and hit that back that back wall.
Speak from your diaphragm.
Yeah, speak from the diaphragm. But you know the actors who aren't doing it, because by the time we get to week 3 in the show, they're like, you know, their voice is like this. It was like you wasn't using your stomach, you was using your throat, you know. So that's one thing that I've learned over time now, and I can hear it when actors are using their neck and talking.
Yes.
It's like now you gotta have that James Earl Jones, and you gotta you gotta come from the stomach. We talked before about this a little bit in the sense of kind of when you're gifted, one of the burdens of being gifted is your lack of preparation sometimes, right? You kind of feel like, because I am so talented at singing, because I am so talented at acting, I am so talented with cameras and editing, that I can show up the day before. I can not rehearse and it can kind of go through. Have you felt like that has been a kind of hindrance for you in your life, of because you are so gifted that yeah, sometimes you just show up and sometimes it works out?
Absolutely. I mean, I can count many of times where I've done that, but also the way I operate, I really do strive for excellence. Like
Yes,
like
ma'am.
I really try to do that, because I always want to perform at my best self. That's just in my nature.
Yeah.
Like I always want to give it my best. So when I've done that, like I've shown up and I didn't rehearse, and even though it went over well and people would say like, "Oh, you sounded great," like in my mind I'm like, I know I could have landed that better.
Come on now.
And me walking away like living with that, I don't like feeling like that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know, I try to do that the next time. And of course, life happens, right? And so because I am in so many different things, I have so many different gifts, you know, there's times where it's like I didn't have a chance, but I don't want to go back on my word. Like I still want to fulfill this. So I'm going to show up and do it.
Right.
And I know I can, but I never want to take that stance of like, again, I never want to be arrogant or like prideful to live in that, to say like, this is just how it's going to be because I can do it.
Yeah.
No. I'm always thinking like, how can I make that better? How could I have delivered this better? So, you know, the thing is to try to prepare, put that in your schedule, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like that can, being gifted in the sense of saying, oh, I'm gonna just show up, that's a way to keep you stagnant, right? You'll look at year after year after year, you'll be like, dang, I'm the same way, I haven't grown at all.
Definitely.
Because you're not rehearsing, you're not like taking classes, you're not doing these things to keep getting yourself better.
Indeed.
You said that you strive for excellence, and I'm the same way as well. I know for sure I'm just now meeting you really, but I'm sure you're always a great singer and always a great performer, but I'm sure... But hey, like you said, there are some days where you probably look back at something like, ooh, that was raw. Ooh, that was a little pitchy. In what ways do you feel like you did like practically prepare, in a sense of like, which ways did you get better? Was that listening to other artists? Was that taking a vocal class or something like that? Which ways do you feel like you keep perfecting your craft?
Oh, well, perfecting my craft for me, so if I'm performing, if I'm doing something, of course I try to look back to see what I could have done better. So there has been times where I said, hey, I need to, you know, see a vocal coach for breathing, because I noticed like, hey, I'm out of breath right here, or I'm always losing wind. And so if it's something that's beyond myself, which it usually is, right? There's always something to learn.
Come on.
Always something to learn. So I don't know too much about like, I'm thinking I'm breathing correctly.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking up like, okay, let me find somebody to help me with my breath support and my breath control. So it does look like seeking out professional help or just doing my own research. You know, YouTube University is cool. Of course, I mean, you got to vet some of these people because anybody could be, you know, but.
You could say anything on YouTube, right?
You
and
can.
Like, you can just say anything. For
you
real.
can. You can. I mean, on the internet, I mean, I teach my students that all the time, like you have to know what's credible and what's not, because I mean, it's just so easy to click on the first thing and think like, oh, this is it. And it's like, no. You need to find 10 other people that also are credible that's saying this. You know what I mean?
Same thing.
One person is telling you the sky is green, and it's like, come on now. And you just run with it because it's the first thing that you see. So it's very important to vet those, you know, resources. But yeah, I think I answered your question. I know I went off on a tangent a little bit.
Oh, no, you're all good. You definitely did. So you did seek you sought a vocal coach sometimes to kind of help you with
yes.
stuff?
And after I went through that period of having that vocal damage too, like I didn't know what that was, like where it came from initially, because I was doing what I was always doing.
Wow.
But it was like prolonged periods of overuse, and like, you know, there was one time where I worked in an office like as an administrative assistant, so like answering the phone all the time, and then like, you know, teaching or tutoring after school, and then still going to sing, and then like still performing. It overuse, right? And I didn't even know, like, when you're answering the phone, you can't see that person. So they say like, really your voice is almost, you're trying to get the point across without seeing somebody. So it's like a little harsher. So you have to actually be mindful, like, hey, you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't got to do too much on the phone. Like we try to portray a character over the phone, you know?
Right. Because when we're in person and like our body language, everything is speaking. But when you can't see me, sometimes you try to overcompensate. So I was actually doing that with not even realizing what I was doing.
Right.
But just because I was on the phone all day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's funny. It's the little things that you don't even think about, right?
The
just like
little things.
Yeah. And they can
that
go
are really
way.
the big things.
Yeah. The little things are the big things.
Come on.
Is that a Jen Rockett quote that we're quoting right now? The little things are the big things?
Absolutely. That is, the little things are really the big things. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, even like the little wins that you get, I think that can even go bigger. Like the little wins that you get are really big wins, you know?
Yes.
Just like the small steps.
A win is a win. And I say that big or small. If the goal is to win, a win is a win.
A win is a win.
Yeah, it's always the smallest things, the things that seem mundane, but really it's like, no, this makes a difference. One of my favorite quotes is, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." One step, if you just step in one, it's like, oh, I really didn't go anywhere. I could still see.
Right.
But then as you're moving along, 500 steps in, 5,000 steps in, it's like, wow, I could actually see it took, each little step made a difference. You know what I mean? So it's the small things.
It's the small things. And I think, again, on that quote then, like when you look at something that says, oh, you have to take 1,000 steps, right? That looks big, right?
Yes.
And that almost looks intimidating, like, oh, I can't do that. But you said the most important thing is just taking one step, right?
Come on, Ben.
Like you just take your one step. And you keep going after that.
Yes.
And by the end of it, you're gonna look back and be like, dang, like I done took 1,000 or so steps, and I'm further than what I thought I was gonna be.
Yes.
A little bit more on that, and then we gonna move on.
Okay.
But and actually, Will Smith had this book, is super great. But at the beginning, he talks about lay another brick. His father had him and his brother, like he made them like build this fence, like, and it was like out of brick and stuff like that, and or build this wall in a sense. But they were always complaining about it, like, we can't build no wall. Why does he have us doing this? Why does he have us doing this stuff? We can't do this. And his dad came and told him, he was like, stop thinking about the wall. Just lay another brick.
Brick by brick.
Like, just lay another brick. And they were like, when they took that mindset of not thinking about the wall, because the wall is big, like it is intimidating.
Yes.
But really a wall consists of just laying bricks down.
Yes.
Right? So he was like, my career, in a sense, every movie, every audition, every little meeting has just been a brick that I've just laid down. And then all of a sudden you'll look and be like, wait, I got a full wall that is here.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we get discouraged, right, when we're laying those bricks, and we can't see the wall yet.
Yes.
But I think we gotta be encouraged to just keep laying those bricks down.
Yes.
Keep laying them down.
I have one more quote too with that.
Let's
I don't
go.
mean to cut you off, but
Let's quote it.
I was thinking about even looking at it the way you said. When I was in college, I had a professor. His name was Professor Flexo. Shout out to Professor Flexo, wherever he is.
Flexo.
Yes.
You got a lot of flex happening. You know?
He was my marketing professor. And he asked us this question, and I literally quote it all the time. He said, do you know how to eat a whale? And we were all looking like, what is he talking about? And he said, one bite at a time. And it made sense because everything that we were doing in the beginning of the class, we were like, how do you expect us to complete? This is huge. This is massive. So he's like, you see this massive whale, but you know how you're going to eat it? One bite at a time. One step at a time, right? Little by little, brick by brick. So I take that with me. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, whether it's singing, teaching, taking pictures, whatever it is, something that seems massive to me in the beginning, I always tell myself, one step at a time, one bite at a time, and then you'll get through that.
There we go. I love it.
I live by that.
Yeah.
Words to
so
live
that's
by.
an influential teacher right there, it sounds like,
Yes.
huh? With the quote that you can remember. How do you eat a whale? You do it one
bite at a time.
At a time. And that just goes to say with that principle, right, of consistency.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, Denzel has this quote, like, without commitment, you won't start, but without consistency, you'll never finish it. Right?
That's good.
And I feel like the only thing that separates the people that you look up to, the people that have made it, is simply consistency.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're gifted, like, yeah, they're talented,
Yeah.
but when people said no, they kept going. When it didn't go right, they just kept going. When,
Yes.
you know, people didn't want to buy the script, or people weren't offering them movie roles
Right.
or you know, having them sing places and whatnot. They just kept going, and then eventually they got there. So consistency is literally the key. Consistency is the key to being on the other side of your goals, right? Like
Right.
your dream body, like it's gonna take consistently working out and consistently
Absolutely.
eating good, you
Yeah.
know, and it's a tough one, but
It
you know,
is.
it's that's what it is, right? Having a great relationship, right? Is
Yes.
consistently showing up for each other and whatnot,
Right.
and even with our dreams, it's just consistently showing up for those.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to take a brief pause from the conversation to talk about the sponsor of today's episode, which is us, A to B. Are you looking to create content, but you don't even know where to begin with the gear? Or maybe you started to create content, but you're trying to up the quality a little bit? Well, this offer is for you.
Stop stressing. We know y'all be stressing about what equipment you need to shoot content. Stop it.
Come on.
We're going to show up with all the equipment you need with the ability to shoot multiple pieces of content across multiple social platforms. This allows you to produce higher quality content, be more efficient,
What else?
and buy back your time.
There you go. Come on now. And we've done this for different people like business owners, entrepreneurs, and even ministries, and the results speak for themselves. So if you're trying to up the quality of your content, hit the link in the description so we can take you from A to B.
Let's
All right.
go.
Back to the conversation. The third way that I feel like you are set apart is by God, right? And
Yes.
being a believer and a woman of faith. And in what ways do you feel like faith has informed the way that you move in the world?
Yeah. I mean, it's how I live, right? So my morals and values, what I believe, it has caused me to say no to certain things. It has definitely been a roadmap, a guide map for the direction that, you know, I live my life, or the direction that I want my life to go, if that makes sense.
No, that definitely
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, everything that I do, I think about, again, like it has to support what I believe. Does that make sense? So it's like me being my authentic self based on my faith, what I believe.
Right, I got that.
Yeah.
It has to be in alignment.
There it is. It has to be in alignment.
It has to be in alignment. So, but do you feel like in the sense that, you know, yeah, okay, your gifting is singing, your gifting is acting, but do you feel like, you know, I have to be a gospel singer, or I have to do gospel movies? Do you feel like you can still bring God with you into the secular world as well?
Absolutely. So I always say this quote to or this saying, to each his own, right? So my path for me may not look like somebody else's.
Yeah.
And for me, like the season that I'm in right now, I know what I'm saying no to. It reflects my beliefs. Like, you know, somebody asked me to do a song recently.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't use profanity, even outside of church. I just don't do that, right? So I'm not going to sing a song where you ask me to say all these provocative things, or I'm not going to take a role that is like, you know, sexually explicit or something, because that's not me, right? And so, you know, I know that I have been in spaces, secular spaces, where, you know, things are occurring, and of course, as long as I'm staying true to myself, I'm good with that.
Come on now.
Now, for some people, I believe God has called them to cross over and to, you know, be that light in whatever capacity that He's called you to do it in that time, in that season.
Yeah.
So for me, in this season, like I'm only singing inspirational. Now I listen to all. I'm a music lover, right? I love all genres. I learn whatever, but like me and the music that I'm writing or that I'm preparing to release, like it's reflecting my life, my experiences.
Yeah.
And that's God.
Come
And
on
that's
now.
being a woman of faith. That's being an encourager, somebody who likes to inspire. So my music is uplifting. It's motivational. No shade or shame to somebody who is a believer who does do secular music. To each his own. I don't fault that. I believe God can use you in any area, but I know my assignment. I know he's told me to do it this season. So in this season, that's what it looks like for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. When I think about that, one person that comes to the top of my list is like a PJ Morton, right?
Oh, yes. And I'm a
PJ
huge fan.
Oh yeah, you got to. PJ is beautiful, man.
Yes.
Being at PK,
Yes.
of course he has that pressure of being in the gospel world.
Y'all
like,
pastors' kids. Now I'm a preacher's kid. Let's make that clear. But I hear what you're saying.
Right.
I do
You have that pressure, right, of doing something that is gospel, doing something that's. But I mean, PJ knows that. Yeah, like I don't have to be necessarily singing gospel music to represent God in the way that I move in my craft.
Yes.
Right. PJ sings about love.
Yes.
He sings about gifts, right? He sings about pursuing your dreams, which are all things that God has blessed us with.
Yes.
You know, he doesn't use profanity.
Right.
He doesn't degrade women in his music.
Right.
But you can still use your gifts in the secular world in a sense to still respect God and honor him and who you are.
I agree.
Yeah. So we talked about this earlier too. You said this is like the mantra of your life. That one scripture that says your gifts will make room for you.
Yes.
Have you seen that over time of your life of your gifts making room for you?
Yes, your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great men. Right. That's the next part of.
Come on, let's finish it. Let's finish it.
But I feel like I know.
Yeah.
I know that every encounter that I've had, every experience, even with being a part of transparency has changed my life in the best way. Like I've met lifelong friendship. I've made lifelong connections being a part of Transparency, the play, being connected to these people who are amazing, who are great. And that was something that was presented to me. Like I'm not telling people don't go out there and grind and like do that.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
But I didn't audition. I didn't seek out like, hey, can you? I didn't do that.
Wow.
A lot of the things or a lot of places where I performed too, and I mean it was big, like massive places, right? Like even doing political things like Senator Dianne Feinstein. I was a kid.
All right.
But like they would call me to do these political, like, hey, can you sing the national anthem, whatever. And at the time, I didn't even know how big that was. But like I didn't seek that out. I didn't audition for those things.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of shows that I've done, like people have called me. So I feel like that is a testament of my gift making room for me, but also like in a sense being prepared for those things because I'm not afraid to use my gift. When people call me to sing or when people call me to act now, sometimes I would be a little like, you sure? Like even with Beans, I'm like, are you sure?
You want me to do that?
But I did, right? I wasn't reluctant. I could have said, you know what? No, right? Even doing this podcast with you today, I'm like, you sure you want to?
It was a lot of hindrance, we'll tell you beforehand.
A lot of pushback.
Yeah, we had to break some limiting beliefs, but we here.
But when you just dive in and you do it, I believe that God sees that, He honors that. He knows that I want to use these gifts. And so he makes room for me.
He makes room
like
for it.
the opportunities present themselves. And there are certain things that I do seek out. You know what I mean? Like, of course I want to audition for this or I want to be a part of that. So I'll call and I'll put that application in. But 90% of my experiences with me using these gifts, people have sought me out. And I'm like, wow, God, thank you. You know what I mean? And that makes me want to continue to use my gift, be authentic, and shine my light.
Right. I love it.
Yes.
And I think that's when you know that that's what your gifting is, right? Like that's when you know that like this is the thing that you're supposed to be following.
Yes.
This dude Omar, who I follow, he's like a coach, a lifestyle coach and whatnot. He was like, there are a lot of people who don't live in the same truth as us, in the same truth as us, in the sense of knowing what your gifting is and knowing what you're supposed to do. But he was like, when you're trying to find it, you have to lean into what's easy, right? Lean into what you don't have to think about doing, right?
Yes.
And in the same way, in the sense of you, how you're saying like you didn't call these people trying to sing and do and be in their plays, whatnot. They calling you, hey Jen, can you come do this? So I feel like if you're trying to find out what that thing is for you, find out what are your
passions?
What are you
good at? What do you love to do?
Come on.
Yeah, I'm not trying to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, we want to hear you.
No, but that's what it is. And I know we were briefly talking about this, but like as a teacher, when I'm asking my students, most kids don't know what they want to do. And to be honest, I always said that I was going to be a medical doctor, right? And it was up until I was in college, like the whole trajectory of my life, like everything shifted, right? And even with that, though, I was always singing. Like, I grew up singing. People would see me and not see me for years, and they always say, hey, you still singing? I'm like, absolutely. This is what is a part of me.
Yeah.
But even with my students, if they don't know, I ask them, like, what are the things that you enjoy? And if you don't know, then I want to expose them to different things so they can, say, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Or I think I like building things, or I think I like creating.
Yeah.
Or, I think I like writing. But you have to expose yourself to those different things, put yourself in different places if you don't know. If you're an adult and you don't know, because I feel like people still struggle with that,
right,
then you have to put yourself in these places to experience these things, because you may not know if you want to do something, but you'll definitely know if you don't want to do it.
Oh, for sure. You know if it's a no.
Absolutely, right away.
Yeah.
Right? So I believe in experiencing those things so you can find that passion, find that purpose.
Right, trying different things, right? And I feel like a lot of people are afraid to try things because
Step out on faith.
Step out on faith. And I think the people are scared of failure, right? They're scared of doing the thing and looking stupid, right? Like, oh yeah, I've thought about acting, but like if I don't want to go into audition and I'll be bad and whatnot. Like, bro, like just go do it.
Just do it
and find out. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. People are gonna forget once you start doing whatever your thing is. So let's not be afraid to try new things.
Yeah.
But I love that.
And I was gonna say I want us to get out of the mindset too of like failure is an end all be all. Like, I want us to start looking at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Like, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. And I know it has a negative connotation to that word failure because you fail. But it's like, no, I did this and now I learned from this.
You gotta fail big, I think.
And fail forward.
Like fall forward.
Fail big, fail forward. I like that. We just coined that. Jen and Ben, we got that. Fail big, fail forward.
Jen and Ben, it's a September 18th thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, come on now. I love it. But I also love too that you're empowering your students right now in the sense of like finding what their thing is.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like it's always a teacher that kind of does that. And for me too, I'll always shout out Miss Carpenter, man, who I remember I was just doing a skit in English class one day. And how I said, how you see people that kind of like lift off the stage and lift off the page a little bit. She saw me doing that in class and how I lit up and how the class was lighting up.
Yes.
And she pulled me after. It was like, hey Ben, have you ever thought about doing drama? Like, are you in drama? And I was like, no, I'm not. And she was like, you should think about doing drama. Like what we saw you doing in there, like that's what you need to use.
Wow.
Instead of, I was kind of a class clown, like talking and all that. It was like, take that energy that you got and put it into something. So I think it's a beautiful thing that you are doing to motivate those kids to find their thing and to find their gifting. Look, Jen, the title of the show is Hitting Your Mark. And we all got different marks that we want to hit. We all have different pathways that we're going to take. But for you, Jen Rockett, what does hitting your mark look like?
Ooh, for me, hitting my mark looks like seeking God for my purpose in this season and executing that as my most authentic self. So whatever I'm supposed to be doing in this season, asking God, what is that? And then executing it, putting in the time, putting in the work, the research, to do it in excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hitting my mark.
That's beautiful. Seeking God and executing His purpose for you, and using those
living in purpose. If I could just like it's just living in purpose. That's hitting my mark. Living in purpose.
Living in purpose.
Yes.
And what I know right now, you are definitely doing that, Jen.
Thank you.
I'm super inspired by you, and I was super inspired by this conversation.
Thank you.
So thanks so much for coming on. I know you was a little. Oh, hey.
It's a September 18th. We cool, right?
Yeah, we cool. We definitely
I'm sorry.
cool.
Was I supposed to be professional? Was I supposed to like?
Oh, no. We can dap up.
Okay,
You
like,
said
I don't know.
we can.
I'm like.
We can do those. We September 18th. We good.
Okay.
Well, thanks again so much for being on the platform. I was super inspired.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope the viewers were inspired too. And if you were inspired by this conversation, feel free to like this video and also comment something down below. Jen was dropping some gems. She was, dropping some good stuff. A little something. So drop that in the comment section if you rocked with it. And also, feel free to subscribe to the channel so you can stay connected with us and see future episodes that we have coming up. Thanks so much again to Jen being on the platform. We'll catch you on the next one. Wow.